Hi there, it's Noelle CoStar here with KnoWellness.com. Today I thought I would take the time to do a full moon reading. The full moon's on Tuesday and it's my favorite time of the month to do a reading. Right now there's so much unrest, fear, anxiety, panic, illness going on the planet. And no matter what you believe, I know that it has led to a tremendous amount of uncertainty. And for me, this is a big part of why I do readings. I do readings because it's an opportunity to connect to your higher self and divine guidance. And a lot of times, if we're operating in a fear-based mindset, or have the energy or vibration of worry and doubt and fear going on, we can definitely lose sight of how to best move forward in our life. And so readings are an opportunity to kind of see where you're headed and make now choices to affect your outcome, to affect your future. It gives a big perception shift to your life. So we're going to start off with the Keepers of the Light deck, and I'm just going to say a little opening prayer or intention to bring in protection and guide and direct our reading. For our highest good concerned as a people, all encompassing this planet, what Keeper of the Light is most pivotal and important for us to interact with over the next 4 weeks? Who can we call on to help us move forward? Who can we call on to help us stand strong in our purpose? Serapis Bey. This card is so interesting that it should come up because firstly, right now what's happening on the planet is this giant great awakening. We are being forced basically to spend time with ourselves. Entertainment is a little bit becoming diminished. So we've spent so many years and years and years being entertained as a people, and more or less having our head stuck in the dirt because of that. And so right now there's this huge pull to wake up, to understand that you are a spiritual being, you're living in a human body, and you have to learn how to interact as both. But the energy on the planet is speeding up right now in reaction to so much negativity and negative things that are going on. There will be this spiritual uprising that's already taking place. And so Serapis Bey is here. We can call on him to bring in the light, to ask how we can participate in this ascension and what your role is. And so in your prayers, in your meditations, I would encourage you to ask this question. What's super important about this card is that, this card represents a rebirthing or a resurrection. And I find it interesting that next week is Easter, and Serapis Bey just came out of the deck to remind us that out of the ashes, out of what seems like a dark state of time, there will be a rebirth, a resurrection, if you will. And whatever that looks like for you, it will feel and be better if you are spending time in contemplation, making sure that you're connected to divine right guidance right now. So let's go ahead and draw some other cards for the upcoming weeks of the month and have a look at what is the most important thing that all over the world we need to look at. How can we stand strong and remain in a state of peace and enlightenment through this time. So for our highest good concerned, I ask that you raise our energy. Help us to clearly hear, see, know, and feel information that's accurate, that will bring healings and blessings to us all. Okay, here we go. So, in this first week here, the week of the full moon, we're really all coming to terms with the fact that we are homebound. And maybe this is very uncomfortable. I know that it feels particularly uncomfortable if you are somebody who was out earning an income and now you're not, or that you could be physically doing lots of things and now you're not. And so I would encourage you to go ahead and look for ways that you can interact mentally right now. Who can you send messages to? Who can you encourage? You know, the Page of Swords here is coming up because this is a social time. This is a time to send out those messages that maybe you've thought about but never thought you had the time to like send a little note, or maybe you never thought you had the time to just call and sit on the phone with somebody and actually talk and not text. But you can do that during this week, and it will help uplift the vibration of the planet right now. The other thing we have here is the Nine of Pentacles. So by the end of this week, you know, I believe that there's going to be more opportunity to make money through ways that you never thought possible, ways that are independent of how it was coming to you before. And this time is definitely waking up ingenuity and innovative ideas that weren't there prior to now. And so, you know, it's creating a time of reunion. And while this card certainly looks like the most joyful time, it's interesting that this card also, the sun, represents the actual sun. So here is another, as we're coming into the week of Easter weekend, we have the Sun card and we have the Hanged Man card. And for me, this is just so interesting how it's coming up, because it's like the sun sacrificing for the greater good. And here we're having this reunion with that. And so regardless of whatever your religious beliefs are, at this time, it's important to wake up to the fact that you are a spiritual being. And in what ways are you having your hands tied? How are you going to sacrifice right now? And think about how it's for the greater good of humanity. And so how can you connect to your compassion? How can you connect to your heart center? Because it's completely different than living through the fear center. And I know that it's hard and challenging right now. It's hard to look to the future, but it's important to do so. It's important to start thinking about how this is going to affect the future. You know, physically, what changes need to be made? This is a really big deal, because I think a lot of people are expecting that, hey, this is going to be over and I'm going to go back to my normal life and it's going to be hunky-dory. And I just don't believe that that's going to be so. I believe that this is a great beginning of a change. So start thinking about how can you grow some food at home? How can you change maybe the way that you were living before? Because there are things that we're going to have to sacrifice and purify through our beings to be able to keep our immune systems up, so that we're not affected by what's going on right now. And in one sentence, I could speak to the virus, but there's also the 5G. There's a lot of different things going on. So it's super important to make sure that you're thinking about ways to provide for your own food, for your own supplies of really important things. And one thing for sure, that this little 3 weeks I've kind of been in quarantine now, you know, how many things should be a staple in my pantry that aren't. And so it is definitely changing the way that I'm viewing some of my lifestyle. And I hope that you take the time to really reflect, to really think about, okay, how is all this affecting me? It's the second week of April, and we're moving into where we should be, according to the news, potentially seeing some of moving out of this quarantine. And is that going to be accurate? Is that going to be true? How can you adjust? Have you already adjusted some of your lifestyle? You know, the third week of April, we have the Empress upside down. And we also have the 8 of Cups upside down. And these two cards are both telling us that this might not be the most prosperous time. You know, you may really start feeling like, where's all the food? Where's all the supplies? How are we going to bounce back from that? We thought government money was going to come, but it's not really showing up yet. I want to move on, but I'm having a really hard time with moving on for my highest good. You know, a lot of you that are meditating, that feel like your outlook is happy and great about life, and then this has happened, and now how do you be in this space? How do you hold space for other people? And how do you move through this in a positive way? And it's going to be difficult. So I just encourage you to play lots of music. You know, music is one of the things that can really strip away negative energy from your aura. It can raise your energy vibration and your consciousness so that you're more connected to divine guidance. And make sure that you're continuing to ask. Make sure that you're continuing to ask. But I don't believe that we will necessarily be moving out of this emotional, I know it goes in and out of feeling incredible fear. You know, I'm an empath, so I'm feeling that a lot right now on the planet. And I go in and out of totally protecting myself so I'm not feeling, and then opening myself up and being like, oh my goodness, it's so intense. And so I feel you guys out there that are really strongly panicking and very worried. And the best way to move out of that state is to ask for help, ask for guidance, and know that it's going to come to you as soon as you stop trying to figure out how to function in this state. You know, you're worrying about how to control it for you. You have to put that to the side and ask higher guidance for help, and allow the serenity of peace to come into you and guide you to do whatever the next right thing is for you in your life. And it looks like as we're entering the last week of April, there is going to be new, fresh ideas. There's going to be worry starting to move out of the situation. The panic, the fear thoughts, we're going to start being able to move forward and away from those, kind of away from this darker time, into new creative ideas, definitely new business ideas for sure. And I would just encourage you, as we're moving into the first week of May, this is when I really believe we'll start moving out of the fear-based mindset as much. But it's going to take work. It's going to take work. It's going to take people on the planet coming together right now to pray, to meditate, and uplift the vibration of the planet. Because if you can imagine that we are in this real back and forth tug of war on negative energy, trying to hold back the evolution of our spiritual advancement. And our spiritual advancement is how we're going to be able to really heal this world. Just remember through this time that I love you, and no matter what you believe, God loves you too.